Hello and good morning. Welcome again to the show, Dr. Dean. Thanks for being on.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
And to you too. All right, so we have a quick question for today. In light of everything that's happened in the last year, it's been kind of a crazy year. We want to know, has the best value approach changed at all in the last year?
Yes, it has. In fact, we're going to call this Best Value 3.0 2021. And the reason we're doing this is we have had huge changes in the best value approach to make it easier and more successful. The biggest change is we no longer have a risk management plan. We are asking the vendors to propose a scope, a unique scope, and identify the risk that they face in implementing their scope. And this totally changes and simplifies the best value approach.
So in the selection phase, when vendors are submitting their proposals, they're sending in their submittals, there's no longer a risk assessment portion of their proposal.
There is a risk assessment, but the risk assessment or the identification and mitigation of risk only applies to their proposed scope and the implementation of that scope. It does not apply to any other risks faced by other competitors, a risk that the owner thinks are risks. It only applies to the risk of implementing their unique specific scope.
Now that makes sense. So basically you're going to vendors and saying, let's simplify this risk assessment. So you don't have to worry about any risk that might pop up. Only talk about the risks in your scope or risks that you control.
Yes, that is on the vendor, quote, responses to an RFP.
Yeah.
But it also has some changes on the client side. The client now has to identify their project objective in simple, non-technical terms and provide as many metrics that define their unique project requirement. So, making this very simple, we tell them, you identify your project objective in a simple, non-technical way that it's measured by metrics. And number two, give your schedule, both the procurement schedule and your requirement or your time for delivering the requirement. Give us your budget and any metrics that go along with this, with their unique organization and their project requirements. So it's very straightforward.
So it's actually simpler for both the vendors and the clients.
It is. The reason we do this is we have finally realized that we cannot depend on the client side having technical expertise or enough technical expertise to understand the best value approach. And on the vendor side, by going this route, it totally eliminates any confusion about who the vendor is and what they're proposing.
So now with this change, this best value 3.0, what do you see in the future? What do you predict is going to be the result of making this change to how vendors and clients talk about risks and the scope?
We actually see that more organizations will be able to use the best value approach. It becomes simple, it's logical. They don't have to understand, quote, the entire approach. They just follow the rules, use templates for the RFP, RFQ, and run the process as they will be directed to run it. This has been captured and tested out, and we feel that that this is the best thing to come along for the best value approach that we've seen.
Do you know if any other organizations or groups are already doing anything like this?
No. The only way we, quote, came up with this was after test after test. And in this last year, finally realizing that the expectation to understand, quote, what we call simple concepts weren't so simple for a lot of owners, procurement, and vendors. So we decided to make it super simple. And with this approach, it eliminates any confusion. It also drastically will reduce their cost and get them much higher performance or identify expert vendors.
Wow. So there you have it. This is the next wave of best value technology, best value 3.0, making it simpler for other organizations to use it without having to know all the ins and outs of best value.
It's happy holidays for the entire supply chain.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Dean. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel for more content. If you have any questions about the best value approach or for Dr. Dean, leave them in the comment section below and we'll get to them in a later video. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.